Money, money, money. Morning LPI.
Who is playing tonight and in what order? Starting off with Maru versus ByuL for our first matchup. We'll then be having SOS versus Patience. Our third matchup of the evening will be Stats versus Nation, the rematch of the IM Gungi Finals.
Definitely the big match for me tonight. We're going into Solar versus Alive for match 4. Also should be a good one. And then the final one, Zest versus Dark. Kind of just a match here for Zest to come on in and try to make some money, whereas for Dark, definitely does matter in terms of what place he will be in towards the end.
That's absolutely right. So we're going to talk about the lifetime records of these players as we head into this. So let's start things off, of course, with our first match. Oh no, before we do that, we're taking a look at our standing. So Innovation is already secured in first place. There's no way that that can change.
Well, if he loses and Solar wins, that's literally the only outcome in which he will be in second place.
Well, that's right, actually. Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I just assumed that the golden bar that we were shown meant that he was there for sure, but that's actually not the case, so I'm sorry about that. But
it's also possible he could get in third, actually, if ByuL also wins.
After viewing the stats, because I was only looking at the other spots, because I just assumed he was locked in. But anyways, here's our first matchup, Maru versus ByuL. It's going to be a very Maru one-sided match in terms of history. And like I said, he's 15-4, but a lot of people might argue ByuL is the favorite in this series going tonight because he's improved so much, and he looks to be one of the strongest EVT players in the world right now.
Definitely in terms of form, ByuL is up there at the top. He's in third place, doing quite well for himself. But Maru, he had kind of a weak beginning, but has been coming back in the later stages here of Season 1. Our second match is going to be SOS versus Patience. Again, this is a match that definitely matters a lot for Patience, whereas for SOS, he's just trying to pick up some extra cash. You can see that these guys are pretty even in terms of, like I say, the Void. Patience does have the lead there, 5-2, but pretty close overall. Yeah,
Patience is definitely the favorite in that one, and he's a very aggressive Protoss versus Protoss player. That's why he has the winning record over SOS, because oftentimes SOS tries to do something tricky in the matchup and would just be straight attacked by Patience and killed before he can pull it off. So not going to get away with anything too tricky in this matchup today, I don't think either. Obviously for Zest and SOS, both of their matches don't matter for them in terms of placement, but they can still earn money today in the best of threes they're playing, and it matters a lot for their opponents. So here's Maru, our starting Terran player. Had a rough start to SSL 2017, but definitely bouncing back. Wants to make sure he can secure his spot in Premier for next season.
Yeah, and if he does go 2-0, he will make sure that he gets on through. I think he just needs the win first and foremost, because he does have the best indicator score out of all the players that are tied at 4-4 currently. Does not have a chance to make it into playoffs. The 4 players that are at the top are going to be the 4 players you do see in playoffs in one order or another. And speaking of those players, ByuL is one of them, currently at 5-3, doing quite well. He's picked up some achievements and really making this SSL his own. Really came into 2017 with a new look, new form after CJ Antis obviously disbanded as a team, and has been doing quite well so far just as an individual player.
Absolutely. His meatless style in the ZBT matchup, his harassment-based playstyle, it's so counterattack focused. It's really caught a lot of Terrans off guard.
Yeah, especially Innovation on this map, you know? So I'm very excited because this was ByuL's first map pick too. He wanted to play on this map of Overgrowth.
So that's where we're going to start things off. We're then going to Daybreak and Frost, our third map, if the series requires it. Let's jump into game number 1 on Overgrowth.
Maru, 조성주, ByuL, 한지원.
Here we go, Overgrowth, the first map of the day. Fly Better Fly Jin Air, thanks to them to making this tournament possible. And the Jin Air player, it is Maru, the blue Terran.
And his opponent to the top right in purple is, of course, the former CJ Antis ByuL. Zerg player is so harassment focused right now in the matchup. Also in the ZVP matchup, he's been playing that way as well. Just loving his counterattacks and Mutalist heavy playstyle in this matchup. You mentioned the matchup against Innovation. You know, it basically came down to whether or not Innovation could break ByuL's back while he's trying to invest into those mutas oftentimes. So we'll see if he does go down the Spire Tech route, because Maru's a player who plays very similarly to Innovation in terms of crisp timings. Of course, this is going to be much later in the game, but right now in this matchup, there's not a whole lot of cheeses or all-ins that we do see, so you have to expect that it is going to be that 2 medevac push coming across the map from Maru, and we'll see if ByuL wants to take the similar path to defending it. So that's kind of the meta right now, and like I said, the Void, we weren't sure how things were going to settle down in terms of all the matchups, so it feels like this one gets pretty textbook at times. That there's differences, of course, in how the Zerg will play things, like ByuL, for example, is really heavily investing into Mutalist, whereas other Zergs are skipping that entirely.
You have some foreign fans down here at the studio. Group of them there. Only one small portion of them that are currently here.
Yep, there's a lot of people down here. Do come and check us out here at the Nexon Arena for SSL. We do Mondays are Premier and Thursdays are Classic. We also have LCK matches as well down here if you're a League of Legends fan.
Yeah, and of course Challenge on Saturday nights. And make sure that if you've got people out there that don't know about this tournament, I know it's on YouTube, it's not out there on Twitch where everybody will know about it. Make sure you're telling people. And I mean, this is 10 of the best players that we currently have in Korea, and all 10 of them play every single day. So
that's right, and of course we're good. This is going to be the last time that happens, but that's
well, until season 2.
Yeah, exactly, for season 1. Playoffs, of course, and all that information will be announced soon.
Also, I think season 2 might even be even better, because guys like Hero, TY, ByuL, they're all down in Challenge. Challenge also a fantastic tournament, and I think there's a very high chance that they will make it into Premier over guys such as Zest and SOS, who are going to be falling down, and well, obviously because they are already relegated, but guys in the fast lane even, I think guys like Hero, TY, ByuL definitely have a good shot against them too.
Definitely the case, and the tournament will definitely level up. Presume to get our third Splice member TY in here if you can make it through. So this opening for Maru is again pretty standard. He is committing though. Actually, it's not very standard. He's committing to the Hellions here first. We'll see if he makes a 3rd and 4th. Looks like he wants to do. Yep, he will commit to the 3rd and 4th.
And he's switching the starport onto the tech lab in front of the Overlord. Overlord just hanging around. It will be a Raven that is coming out.
Yep, but this may trick ByuL into thinking it is a Banshee coming, so that's something that he's definitely going to keep in his consideration. So Raven on its way now. Can obviously kind of clear up the creep. That's what these Hellions are going to be here to do. And he can also use the auto turrets for harass. So just wants to limit the creep and be aggressive with this. It's an unusual strategy to see this much commitment to the ground army, but we have seen it from players who are more harassment based, like Maru.
Yeah, this is not just a small group of Hellions. He's already committing to 6 in total. So as you were saying, it's this gigantic force that can put on a lot of pressure at the front, can clear up the creep. You can see that ByuL, he's not even really able to spread it too much. There's a tumor on the left side. He has zoned him out for now, but the 5th and 6th Hellion just joined. So
this is also a 2nd Raven and a 3rd CC. I think this is going to be Mech that we are seeing here. Valdez coming out of Maru. Going to target down that Queen. Does get it. Here comes the Raven now with the auto turret. Unfortunately not placed to defend these Hellions, but some decent micro here and reinforcing Hellions. The Lings are going to get cleaned up. Now, this is a new transition. We haven't seen too much Mech play in recent times. We did see it actually out of Major in the GSL recently in this matchup. But looks like ByuL is kind of ready for this. He's making it a Roach Warren, or he already has a Roach Warren. He's making Roaches now.
Yeah. And as you say that, actually, 2 more barracks are made with Stim on the way. So it seems like just heavy pressure with just Raven Hellion. And you can see that the Roach Warren is out here, so he will make enough Roaches to hold this off, but does switch back into Lings. And I mean, there's an Overlord that sees all of this, so it's not like some kind of huge trickery play, as Maru wasn't able to commit any units to stopping the Overlord scouting. So,
well, because he committed to the Roach Warren and a lot of roaches in kind of a panic moment, he's going to follow up with the Nidus network to make these units worthwhile. He made a lot of Lings as well, so he's going to hit Maru in this transition back to the normal bio style before he has Stim. Scouting this would be so huge, and it's actually at the front door if I'm not mistaken, so he may just see this with the Raven if he decides to take that route. He's hitting the third base now.
Yeah, there's just a Nidus network chilling at the front door of the natural. And
you know what?
Maru doesn't have any idea. This Raven is going to come over here, but auto turret comes down, and he doesn't get close enough to scout that. This auto turret will get a bit of damage. But here we go.
See it now, but you know, he just didn't. He put it there because he knew the Ravens would be harassing the back, so he wanted it to be at the front. Units coming up here immediately. Just needs to try to set up for the defense. It's impossible to target a Nidus now in Legacy of the Void. Even the eBay here for the wall.
Now all the SCV's going to come off the line. That one tank that just got made is so important in trying to hold this off, but still lots of Zerg coming on out. Finally now the Lings and the Roaches make their way out of the Nidus.
Doesn't feel like he's getting very cost-efficient damage done here, but the Queens do break through. ByuLs are dropped here as Maru actually now pulls his SCVs from the natural. Stim looks like it will finish, but there's not going to be any Marines left for it to fire potentially here as they get cleaned up. And now every Marine that pops out is just being killed by these units. So many SCVs going down. I think that is going to be all she wrote for this one.
There you go. ByuL squashed Maru like a bug, which is what you would think the turn would do to the Zerg, but not the case in this matchup. Really like that build, GG. You know, he saw the build that Maru was doing, saw the Hellions, and then he saw the transition, and he was like, oh, you're just going to make like 3-4 add-ons onto all those new buildings and think you're going to have enough to stop this Nidus? No, that's not the case. So, love the response from ByuL. That's another thing that's in his play recently that I really love. He just has this game sense where it's like, he plays so much that he just knows what route to take in certain situations like that, even if you don't see that all the time. Like, when's the last time you saw that kind of play in ZBT?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that you see. It's very reactionary, and it's really cool to see. We saw this in the ZBZ last week as well. I forgot who it was who was playing it. I think it might have actually been ByuL. Either way, last week we saw this. Nidus went ahead in ZBZ to just end the game and make sure that you could finish things off and you have this slight minute advantage. In this case, we saw the transition from Maru there. The first few Lings didn't really get much done because of the nice wall off, but after that the Queen just eventually broke through. He didn't have any bunkers up. He didn't have much time to react because he saw it only when it was coming into his main base.
Yeah. So you can see a bit of smiling on the face of Maru. Can he pull it together for 2 games in a row? We're going to Daybreak for map 2. Here we go, Daybreak. Map number 2. Up here in the top right, it is Maru.
Looks really frustrated after that loss. How could he not be? To the bottom left in purple, his opponent is ByuL, of course. A very quick win in game number 1. Just good scouting and reaction there, knowing that Stim would not be ready with the transition. I don't want to say from mech back to bio, but obviously a very aggressive factory opening with the Hellions and Ravens, and not a whole lot of bio there, making the big explosion of barracks there to get the additional bio out, to get the Stim. He would have had a really solid economy. He had a decent SCV count. He had 3 CCs, but he just didn't have the time to build that army with the money he had saved up there, and he was planning on taking this into a more passive third base. And when you compare the different styles of Maru and Innovation, for example, Innovation would never invest that kind of resources into the earlier pressure and this micro-heavy style. He would always try to speed run towards the 2 medevacs, come out with the pressure, the Stim, the upgrades on the eBays. And that's the kind of style that most Terrans are playing right now. Maru tried to switch it up, but ByuL scouted well and responded well.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely greedy when you think about it. If you try to go for that opening and spend that many minerals on all those Hellions and they essentially do nothing and you lose a bunch of them, and then you try to transition with a 3rd CC, you're not going to have an army, right? You're just going to lose if the Zerg can get inside your base. So Nidus Network was the perfect response. And I don't know the last time that I've saw that. I don't really see Zerg players getting that aggressive in those circumstances, but again, I think it was just a really good read by ByuL of the situation. Now we're going into Daybreak. This is another map that we saw a very interesting series from Maru and Dark when they went head-to-head on this map, where Maru was so close to killing him multiple times. And then I think Dark won in the end of that. But either way, it was a very, very close game. So far, like the ZVTs we've been seeing on Daybreak.
Yeah, Daybreak is definitely a very long rush distance. You feel very comfortable as a Dark player against the pushes that hit your third base. Third base is far away from your natural, but you usually have enough time to rally units over and defend it.
Yeah. And it was Maru, actually, that did win that, because in the TVZ matchup, it's actually 2-0 in favor of Terran on this map so far in SSL Premier.
Well, this Reaper harass is really annoying, but very standard. We're going to see actually several kills this time, though. She nearly gets a third one there. Queen does pop out eventually here to ward it off, but usually the Marine will get A's early at most. You get 2 there. It's a nice little bonus. Scouts to third base, and we'll see what he wants to do at home. Tech Lab coming down, so it looks like more standard play this time. Not the reactored Hellions that we saw in the previous set. Obviously weaker on this map because of the longer distance by ground. Well, I mean, it's really possible that he could make them. We'll see.
Yeah, but still looks like that standard opening you were talking about with the double barracks, the stim coming out. 3 Marines at a time, looking to hit that double medevac drop, put some pressure on the third base. Third base is very far away from the natural on this map, so not too hard to punish. Also, there's a lot of drop potential into the main, obviously, which isn't, you know, it's just a straight path by medevac from your natural to the Zerg's main, and it's a very wide cliff there to defend. So. Well, I like the idea.
Yeah, it ends up being the stim and the triple Marines. No Hellions this time. And we see an Evo chamber coming here quickly again for ByuL. Nice micro here by Maru, trying to catch those Lings with the grenade. So Lings are going to come over here, sees this Marine count. Also hasn't seen any Hellions across the map, so is very certain of what style this is going to be. Marine patrols on the left side of Maru's base to kind of try to deny that intel, but now ByuL knows with that Marine count, he's dealing with your run-of-the-mill cookie cutter Terran aggression with the 2 medevac stim push.
And I like the response out of ByuL too. Right when he saw that, he actually queued a bunch more drones. I think he knows the exact timing that this comes at, and he's preparing for it. He knows he's going to be safe. He's also making queens at the same time. Lane Queen is a very popular defense strategy against this kind of push. And he's also getting the +1 Carapace, which is obviously going to help for not just your Lings, but also the Queens, which can take a lot more hits from all of those Marines once they get on over there. I don't think it's going to be done right when this attack hits, but if he defends it for the first couple of waves, it definitely will be ready by then. Yeah, it's one of those huge investments in the early game. It's very difficult to pull off, but has huge returns if you can make this defense last longer. But he's doing it without the Baneling Nest. He's doing the Mass Queen defense. And with Maru's positioning here, it's going to be very difficult to deal with this large amount of bio that's actually hitting the main base. He wants to punish the fact that many of the queens will be placed elsewhere. Oh, this is so cost efficient for Maru on these Lings. Medevac is being hit here, but only by 1 queen. He's punishing the fact that all the queens were expecting the attack to be elsewhere, and so he hit the main base. And we talk about how the distance between the bases on this map is only 1 queen here. Now the second one finally arrives, and here's the rest of them. They were all over towards the third base. Yeah. I mean, those queens could have gotten there on time. All the creep was connected. He just decided to trade only Lings for the Marines. He wanted to keep the queens out in front, as you were saying, perhaps to defend against the follow-up of the Marines that were coming across the map, but definitely made the trade very efficient for Maru, and now you can see what you can do on this map. Just bounce in between the main, continue trading, and then pick up and get out, attack the front if you want, maybe clean up some creep.
So the follow-up, of course, if he wants to attack the third base now, is going to have 1-1 in combat shields. He's going to have the extra medevacs. There's going to be less Lings to defend, but ByuL will have Banelings. Third CC is coming up here for Maru, so he's not trying to hyper-aggressively two-base this. He's harassing a little bit further here, but the creep spread is now out to, to the watchtower. And here's the additional medevac I was talking about. So moving across here with this large bio, just trying to force more units out of ByuL. And ByuL has not gone into Aspire this game. He's actually just sticking with the Baneling speed right now, not trying to play too greedy. This is definitely not the best map for Mutalisk as well, so probably one of the reasons why. But as I say that, he does now finally add it. So we're going to see Mutalisk play out of ByuL once again in this matchup.
And Maru's playing a very similar style to what Innovation played too. Nice Micro here with actually just the one Reaper to help out with the grenade so that the trade is even better from there. But yeah, very similar style. You know, follow-up of Widow Mines after all the infantry upgrades, continuously take good trades, but I feel like on a map that's this big, when you compare it to Overgrowth, the trades aren't nearly as efficient at the end of it all, and it gives ByuL so much more time to take a easy fourth base that Maru really hasn't gotten even close to at this point. And the next time some of these attacks hit straight on, there's going to be Baneling speed, there's going to be 1-1 finish, and potentially Mutalisk to help out with these drops that continuously come into the main.
Yeah, this is just a map where when you're attacking the third base, you can't rally, you know, and that's what, you know, a lot of Terrans have built their entire playstyle off of. This is a huge counterattack. We talked about ByuL's proclivity to counterattack like crazy when there's pressure on the map like this, and he's going to force all the SCVs to leave. Not only does he do that, he picks up 2 and loses very few Lings in the process. These Lings are still surviving. This is not just a big trade for him. It's just free mining time denied. And Maru does have this really large army for the follow-up attack. That's going to have +2 eventually. And he still has a healthy medevac count. But ByuL has all those tools you described, the Baneling speed. He has a +1 carapace this time.
Awkward spot here for ByuL though, as he falls in supply because he was saving up a gigantic bank to go Mutas, but actually doesn't feel safe enough to do it yet. Goes into more Lings and Banelings, but didn't seem like he had a lot of Larva. Now a big drop in the main.
Oh, great Widow Mine hits there. And already a free split from Maru, but he is losing medevacs here. He needs to be careful about that. Loses another one, and this attack for the time being is held. You can see Maru's supply plummet after this attack fails, and now the 12 Mutas coming out. He feels comfortable enough here with how well that defense went. Even if he loses his fourth base here, which is unlikely, he'll have the Mutas to clean up the rest of the drops. Things could get really dire for Maru in just a moment.
The 15 Mutas are going to put a heavy stop to all these drops, and look at how much of a lack of defense there is at that third base. There's just a supply depot wall. There's no turret. Once he sees these Mutas, he's got to drop some turrets fast because ByuL, I think he might turn on the aggression. As you were saying, it might be hard to hold this third, although as he comes on in, some Banelings do get some decent connects.
Yeah, I think he holds it. This is disastrous for Maru now, who has no defense whatsoever, as you mentioned, for the Mutalisk. And it feels like everyone who plays against ByuL isn't doing their research in terms of how much he commits to the Mutas, and turrets aren't free. I do feel for Maru here. He doesn't want to spend money on turrets if he doesn't have to, if he can draw the Mutas back with his attacks. But when the Mutas show up and there aren't turrets there, that's a problem. Looks like he will add them now. We don't have the production tab open, so he is making 2. Just checked on your PC. So this one's not ready in time, so he's already losing a crazy amount of SCVs. Yeah, I mean, this just looks to be a disastrous situation for Maru. He still has this large amount of bio to try to hit the 4th, and had he gotten it earlier, right before the Mutas came over, he'd be in a much better spot, but because he did not, now he's lost so much of his army, didn't deny the 4th base, he's lost 13 more SCVs, he's already lost mining at his 3rd.
Yeah, you can definitely see that Maru is freaking out a little bit. Like, he pushes out on the map, but then he hesitates, he doesn't commit. At the same time, he's getting Drilling Claws, he's getting Thors, he's like, oh crap, I gotta solve this Muta case here, I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
Dropping mules right into them too.
Here we go, this is that totally undefended third base. I guess the Marines are going to be enough to defend it for now, but ByuL in total control of this game.
Absolutely. Continue to make Mutalisks as well. Doesn't want to overmake those with the Drilling Claws and the Thors coming out, but still in such a safe position here. Bringing the Overseer over now as well. ByuL still in that Brood War mind, having the Overlord in his Mutalisk control group. Here comes the Swarm. The Swarm, indeed. And he's going to have to split perfectly, but even with the Mutas here, it's going to be so difficult. Didn't actually attack with them immediately. Wanted to wait for more vision for the Widow Mines, but this is just too much Zerg for Maru to handle. Once again, a very cost-efficient exchange for ByuL, and there's nowhere for these Marines to even run. The Baneling split, actually, and he didn't even need to.
Yeah. Fantastic attack there from ByuL. He actually decided to go in from the natural to the third base instead of wasting Banelings on the wall that was at the third base.
Thor's stuck in the wall, by the way, it looks like.
Kind of funny situation, but also what he did was kind of funny. He let a bunch of Banelings morph while he went for the attack, so they were staggered, you know? I think he wanted to hit that timing specifically, but I think also, you know, a bunch of the first Banelings, they roll in, and if they're all clumped up, you might get owned by a couple of Widow Mines, but definitely avoided that with his staggered attack.
Well, now he has a 5th base coming up an infestation pit. He's getting flyer, carapace, +2 weapons. So he has 2-1 for his Zerlings right now. So he's actually almost even in upgrades. Actually, I think it's 2-2. So, or sorry, 2 armor, 1 attack. But he's only 1 upgrade down in terms of that versus the Terran here, forcing Maru to stay back here. Baneling's gonna run into a Splitey Pull wall. That's not too cost efficient, but he has total map control, and then he's going to start spreading his creep over to the 5th base. This is only 1 turret, soon to be 2. Decides to back off because he just doesn't have an Overseer with this. Doesn't feel comfortable with dealing with the Widow Mines. The wall is remade, which is really important here for Maru, as the second attack is going to come over. Marines should be able to target down those Banes. Ooh!
That was close. But good hold here from Maru, has his units in position, and is just trying to defend and desperately get that 4th base up into a planetary, because that's where he can definitely go into some really strong attacks. You can see the style that ByuL is playing with the heavy Lingbane Muta, his hive is pretty late. You know, that infestation pit does come up, but now that Maru is sitting here on almost 3-3, and if he can secure that 3rd base, or rather 4th base, he's definitely going to have some pretty strong attacks before ByuL can get some really high tech. I think that's going to be the timing for him here, but as you can see, ByuL trying to buy as much time as possible once again with these mutas all the way down in the bottom right.
Yeah, it's just so counterattack focused, and this is going to be a big pain for Maru, as there's only 1 turret here. Yet again, it's going to be targeted down immediately. He doesn't even try for the repair. That would be silly. He's going to kill so many of these SCVs, but eventually Maru's economy will be worn down. But the Mulists are not fighting units in the way that this Terran army is, just filled with bio, stim, and 3-3 upgrades now completing. So you will need to use these Mulists. That's the idea here, to buy time for him to build up his Hive Tech army. This Hive is going to complete soon. He'll probably start +3 for his Lings, his Adrenal Glands upgrade, and an Ultralisk Cavern. Potentially Broodlords, pretty unlikely. At this point, Maru is adding on additional starports, though, getting the Liberators up. He is transitioning for that Hive Tech. There's the Ultralisk Cavern coming up, and even +2 for his Mutas, who now have 1-1. Just heavily upgraded. He's harassing like crazy in the main base right now. The observer isn't showing, but he's like killing a factory. Nice Thor drop here. Gotta be careful about doing that, but it's obviously more mobility.
Oh, what? Look at this, the Banelings are rolling on through, and there's not much army over here. Most of it is actually at the 4th base right now.
He's finally given so much space to work with these Mutalisks that he could just run in with Banelings like this, and even if he loses a lot of them, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's so difficult for Maru to defend both his main base against the Mutalisks and his 3rd base against the Banelings. So during this time, the Ultralisk Cavern will complete. The Ultralisk are going to come out heavily upgraded, and this is just a terrible situation for Maru. He's going to lose concussive shells. That's not the worst of his issues right now, but 2 Ultras already on the way. Look at the production tab, all the upgrades that ByuL could ever want. He can afford them, and he's even taken a 6th base as Maru scans. It's not GG scans, so it's definitely some scans of frustration.
He wants to see if he can spot any of those new units that are coming out here, see exactly where ByuL is in the tech tree and what he's going for. Now, on this map of Daybreak, if Maru does win a big fight, and, you know, ByuL loses a bunch of these Lings and Banes and has to remake that, if he takes out the middle rocks, it's definitely a short path to the 4th base of ByuL, so that's definitely an option here for Maru.
He didn't make a Greater Spire, right? Yeah, he's still upgrading the +2, so these Corruptors, I guess, are just teched in for drop defense, or the later transition into Broodlords if he decides to. Just has a small, meager amount of them. Gonna help for anti-air, I suppose. I mean, he already has Mutalisks, but here comes the Ling drop into the main base here with heavily upgraded Lings. Very annoying to do it.
Lands.
Yeah.
Ooh, really good shot, though, from the 3 Widow Mines.
So he's just going to continue to harass these Mutas at the same time. He pulls the bio into the main base. Hits the natural with the Mutalisks, and this is a bad map for Mutas in terms of these 2 positions if you have a large bio force that could deal with them between the bases, because there's not a lot of room to work with, as you can see. But because the bio was pulled all the way to the main base, you still find some window, but now he's trapped in between these 2 bases. He is going to go into the Greater Spire, though, and is adding more and more Corruptors. He's going to do an Ultralisk drop. Could ferry, actually, multiple Ultras into the main base.
That's 4 Ultras with 4 Drop Overlords that is going for that. He really wants to hit the production. May just want to give up this base. You can see he's not really mining from it right now. Maybe just 3 drones over here. Yeah. A very slow push out of Maru coming up.
I think he will have to leave it. But here's the 4 Ultra drop you talked about. This is almost comical. So those Ultras are going to take a ton of resources to clear. And, ooh, this is not a fight that Mutas want to take. Definitely not. That was more Marines than he expected. But if he kills a lot of these barracks, it's going to force Maru to remake those. Those aren't cheap. And it's going to take a lot of time. So the cost of this is that 6 base. But he's going to actually right-click this planetary, it looks like. So actually going to be a 1-for-1 trade on base. He's going to get some SCVs on his way out, too. And even some Marines here, potentially. It's such a great trade for ByuL, who still has these Ultras in the main base. And 11 Broodlords on the way. He's built the bank to make this. I mean, Maru is trying his best to hang on, but ByuL is just 3 steps ahead at every moment. Not even 1 or 2. Gonna get this factory, gonna eliminate some of those Widow Mines.
Yeah, you can see there's 4 Liberators being made at a time right now, and the Liberators, very short range, is gonna be hard to get on top of those Broodlords. You definitely need some more Vikings. He's got 6, actually, that he made earlier on, but I don't think he's spotted this Broodlord transition just yet. Starts 1 more Viking.
I think Maru might have forgotten about the Ultra that was in his main base. Okay, looks like he did clear it now. Left it there with like 10 health to harass some more depots. There are only 6 Corruptors on the map, which is a little bit worrisome because he has a lot of Broodlords, but he doesn't have a ton of anti-air to deal with the Vikings. But I guess Maru just really can't produce very well. He's totally out of money, so ByuL should be able to replace the rest of his supply with Corruptors when he has the money for it. You're going to see another Ling drop into the main base, just constant harassment. Maru's forced to reproduce his barracks, as you can see on the production tab. Well, when it comes up, I'm looking at your screen.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at unit tabs today, I guess, on the Korean Observer. But harassment here, killing more SCVs. He just can't deal with all the pressure.
Yeah. You mentioned it right at the beginning, this heavy harass style, this heavy counterattacking style from ByuL. Generally, if you're not going up against Mutas, it's the Terran that's going to be dropping the main, Dune dropping the main, going for the hive spawning pool. He's going to be dropping your top base, but Maru has had 0 time this game to do any of that, and he's just been on the defensive the entire time, whereas ByuL really has just been putting on the pressure. So we still have to deal with this big push that Maru does have coming in here. It seems like he's swiftly adding a bunch more Vikings.
Yeah, look at the army supply. I mean, he has a massive army. It's very cost efficient. It's very difficult to destroy. But if little pieces of it get picked off, there's so much harder for him to replace than it is for ByuL to replace a Corruptor. He has a Transfuse available to instantly repair these units back to full health. The Broodlord army is going to start wheeling away at this. He can't continue to lose SCVs. He can't continue to lose mining at this base. I think he needs to commit some resources back there, perhaps a bunker or 2 even, to defend this base, because every time he runs back, ByuL takes more control of these Broodlords. And he can't be losing anything right now. It's so difficult to replace. He's lost 71 SCVs in total this game.
I love what he's doing.
Rolling in.
I love what he's doing here. He's actually attacking the missile turrets, but then retargeting the Broodlords to attack the more important structures. He has taken out some of the missile turrets with just the drop damage on the Broodlords.
Here comes Maru coming in to actually try to target down these Broods. He just doesn't have enough on the ground. Forcing him back now is all these Corruptors. The Banelings roll in. The base goes down. And now the Corruptors are just going to hard engage this. Doesn't even have to be cost efficient. He splits them against the Liberators. And that should be the end of this game. It's going to be lights out. GG.
ByuL taking the swift 2-0 up against Maru. Definitely making things hard now for Maru to be in a good spot here at the end of the regular season for SSL Premier Season 1. And where that leaves ByuL now, he was at 5-3 plus 5, but now he's at 6-3 plus 7. So in a really good spot here. Still waiting on either Innovation or Solar to lose so he could move out of his 3rd place spot. But at least secures that for today.
So he has the +7 indicator, which means in order to take 1st place, Innovation will have to lose no matter what. Obviously, always going to be the case.
Yeah, both Solar and Innovation have to lose for ByuL to go up.
So any score for Innovation in his best of 3 that's a win will still maintain him in 1st place. Yeah. It's going to be against stats.
The really striking thing for me in that series was just the difference between ByuL's play and Dark's play. You know, when even on that map, I feel like ByuL just handled it so much better, right? Just at every turn, he had the right units and preparation. He knew exactly what Maru was doing at all times, and I love the counterattacking play on a map like Daybreak with all of those different paths.
Well, Well, guys, we're going to take a short commercial break. Very, very short, so don't go anywhere. When we come back, SOS versus Patience.